morning. Welcome everyone to our first ever virtual volunteer fair. KCR Community Resources is the volunteer center of the Central Okanagan, and we are very excited to support organizations and especially volunteers throughout the year. And for the past 23 years, we've been holding a fair where we try to do a bit of a love match between organizations and volunteers that are looking for opportunities. This year, we still wanted to be able to do that, even with COVID. Some things we needed to hold on to tight and make sure we're able to continue doing. And we wanted to make sure that there was still a way to connect personally. So even though we're having a virtual fair, we wanted to make sure that it's as personal as a virtual opportunity can be in that way, that it's really still centered around the people that are driving organizations and that are making such incredible impact in our communities. So today's a bit of an experiment. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the plunge with us and trying to help us and figure it out. And thank you for your patience as we may run into a few technical issues or a few, well, we thought this would work and it didn't quite work the way we'd anticipated, but that's okay. We're learning and growing every day still. So that's an opportunity for us. And then if you have any technical issues along the way, we have a great team in our community services department that is here to support you. This great team is also the ones that have been working hard on getting the volunteer fair off the ground. Stephanie Moore is our volunteer fair lady. She has really worked hard with all of the organizations to make sure that everybody still has an opportunity to share their volunteer opportunities even during the times of COVID. And then we have Kelsey, our technical guru, who's beside me to make sure that everything is going to go smoothly that way. We have Juan, and Juan has been helping a lot with the database and getting people information for our community services area. And then Emily, who is our connector, and she's been getting in touch with organizations to talk about the VolunteerConnector and signing volunteers up through that platform, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But any one of those ladies is going to be able to help you today if you have any technical issues. So if you would like to send a message to them, you can find them easily because we're all identified by KCR and then our first names. And you can send messages to us to make sure that you get some technical help if you need it along the way. And then, of course, we are also joined by our executive director for KCR Community Resources, Ellen Bulkey. Ellen, I'm not sure if everybody's going to be able to see you, but maybe, I can't see you right now, but maybe you could give a wave. And our president, our board president, Laura Turn here, and I'm going to introduce Laura in a few minutes, but just wanted to start, as we should with all our meetings, by acknowledging that today we're gathering virtually, but we are gathering on the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Silks people, who have lived here for time immemorial and have stewarded the land. And I'd like to express some gratitude to the elders for ensuring that the land is here and for helping to continue those long traditions. If anyone else is, because we do have some people from other areas, if you wanted to acknowledge this by putting in the chat the territory that you're in, then that would be very welcome as well. Moving forward, I'm going to now introduce Laura Turn here, who, as I mentioned, is the president of KCR Community Resources. Laura, in her working life, is the associate dean in science, technology, health, and social development at Okanagan College. In this administrative role, she works with 13 departments in the science and technologies area, providing faculty and student support. Previous to that, Laura was with the Okanagan School of Business at Okanagan College for 11 years, and she's been a dynamo in our community for many, many more years. Laura has been somebody who's really developed a lot of personal coaching and support to our youth as they're coming up in the community. And she's been a mentor to many of them. Laura is married, has 2 kids, enjoys an active life in the Okanagan, but we are very fortunate to have Laura as our president, and who she has been an advocate and avid board representative for KCR Community Resources for many years. So I'd like to welcome Laura and ask her to share a few words with you.
Good morning, Dorothy. Thank you very much. Very excited this morning to join you. Really excited to see 49 people joining us this morning and look forward to our virtual event this morning. So I am coming to you, as Dorothy said, in my volunteer role. I have been a board member for KCR for about 12 years. I'm starting to lose count, and have seen the organization evolve and grow and develop and become an integral part of our community. And I'm very proud of the organization and proud to volunteer for the organization. I believe in volunteering, and volunteering is part of who I am. And my volunteering ability is in governance and board work. And I certainly don't need to get into what that means, but I think everyone needs to find their role in volunteering. So where can you give? Where's the fit for you? I think we'll be talking a lot about that. What's your agencies of interest based on personal experience, and what skills can you bring? And for me, that's sort of in board development and board roles, and that's what I do. And it certainly enriches my life. So remember that volunteering is about enriching your life as well. Of course, it's about helping these agencies move forward, and it's about moving our community forward. And when I look at the list of why people volunteer, contributing to your community, of course, is number one for me. But don't forget that I get a lot out of volunteering. I get to interact with intelligent, like-minded people. I get to understand what's going on in my community, and I get to participate in events and enrich my life through volunteering. So I will continue to volunteer, and I'm very excited that we have moved to, that our 23rd annual Volunteer Fair is happening. It's virtually, and I'm very proud of the organization. Just this morning to see Kelsey and Dorothy, and we're live on Facebook, and we're recording, and we've got, we're in Zoom. It's pretty exciting to see how quickly the organization has adjusted, and I'm very proud of the organizational team for doing that. So let's see how it goes. We are very, very pleased to welcome the 31 agencies here with us today. And I really enjoyed some of your interviews, and I hope to see a few more of them. And it was a really nice way to highlight your organizations. And as I scroll down the list of who's here, I get excited recognizing your names and seeing you. As well, of course, we are very excited later this morning to launch our Okanagan Volunteer Connector, and there'll be more on that, but it's a new platform for us. And as my role as board president, one of the things that I get to do is send greetings on behalf of the board, but I also get to thank our sponsors. And our sponsors have stayed with us, as have our funders throughout this pandemic. And it's very exciting when you go to a sponsor and say, we still want your money, but by the way, we're going to be doing this virtually, and we're going to be doing this differently. And this is the exposure we hope to give you, but you know, it's going to be different this year. So special thanks to the Central Okanagan Foundation, Interior Savings, 101.5 Easy Rock, and the Kelowna Capital News. So as well, I would personally like to thank the team that have put this together, and I look forward to how this goes this morning, and all the best. Thank you for being here, and I'll turn it back to Dorothy.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. That's great. And thanks for highlighting also that really for all nonprofits, it's the board of directors that are the first volunteers that step up for it and that continue to grow with the organization, often taking them from grassroots organizations to governance boards, where, you know, helping at each step along the way, boards play a really critical role in organizations. And thank you for all you do for ours as well. And the whole board does. I also just wanted to identify the City of Kelowna as one of our partners as well for this, and they have been a partner from the beginning for the Volunteer Fair, and so we really appreciate their support as well. I don't know if I should put Ellen on the spot or not. She's drinking right now. Ellen, I don't know if you wanted to just say a couple of words and say hello.
Good morning, everybody. I think the best thing for me to say is ditto to everything that Laura said. I am also in part of KCR volunteer when needed, but I also volunteer for a number of different organizations in the community, and it's heart and soul of what I believe in. The only other thing I'd mention is KCR has 6 times more volunteers than staff members. Actually, it's closer to 7. We have over 350 volunteers that donated over 12,000 hours in the past year. We don't know where we would be without all of you that are volunteering in the community. And I'm sure that is the case for many of the other organizations that are on the call today. It is the lifeblood of KCR, and we are honored and sending all gratitude to all of our volunteers.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. It's so true. Okay, so I think we're all caught up on that part. I just wanted to, before we go into our first break, our first learning session, I wanted to just highlight again for you, today we're going to have 2 presentations that will be learning opportunities for us. Stephanie Moore is going to talk a little bit about the how, why, and when of volunteering. And then we have Katie Dodd and Janet Rock, who are going to be talking to us about the Okanagan Connector, VolunteerConnector, a really exciting new platform for us. And then we're going to go into the breakout rooms. And the breakout rooms is where it's going to get a little bit fun about how we're going to manage all of this, but please stick around for that, because that's your opportunity to talk directly to the organizations that are part of this year's fair, be able to hear a little bit from them, and then also ask a few questions. What we're going to do during that time, I'll go into the details a little bit later, but just so you know, we're going to have the volunteers rotate through the breakout rooms. So as participants and volunteers, you're going to get to stay in each breakout room, and the organizations are going to come to you, kind of like a speed match dating thing where we're going to move people through the rooms quickly. So we'll see, fingers crossed, everything is going to go smoothly there. But starting now, I'd like to introduce Stephanie Moore. Stephanie is a wonderful part of our team at KCR through the community services. She has been with the organization for over 6 years and has been a part of creating the volunteer fair each of those years. This year, she's going to as I said, give you as an overview of volunteering, the how, why, and where of getting involved. It's going to touch on some of the things that are important for you to know as volunteers, and for organizations to make sure that you're delivering on that for your teams as well. And Stephanie is an amazing resource all year round. So we're very fortunate that she's here today. Stephanie is also somebody who has her own nonprofit business, Nonprofit Impact Solutions, and she has a wealth of knowledge just about how organizations run altogether. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie and say thank you, Stephanie, for sharing your information with us.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Laura, for the opening. We actually have, I think, more staff hands on deck today than other volunteer fairs in the past on the actual day. So I really appreciate all the staff support in the setup and the lead up to the event and today as well. As Dorothy mentioned, I've been with KCR for a little over 6 years, and I've worked in the nonprofit sector for over 19 years. And I love working with volunteers. I think that's what keeps me in this sector. And so we've designed a workshop that's really to help those individuals looking for volunteer opportunities find their right fit. So I think Dorothy's going to share her screen. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I do have a few slides.
Here we go.
And am I able to advance them?
You should be able to, yeah.
Like it. Great. I don't need to see that one anymore. So let's have a look at I'm not able to advance it. It says I am, but maybe I need to use this one. Okay, I got it figured out. First technical glitch. So we're going to cover over, about the next 30 minutes, maybe slightly less. We're going to talk about why people volunteer, and you're going to have your own reasons as well. But I want to get you thinking about some of these things, because when you go to apply for a volunteer position, it's good to know your why. We're going to talk about finding the right volunteer fit for you, and later, as we've mentioned already, we're going to go into the Okanagan Volunteer Connector and how that works. So that'll be where you actually can search for them, but being prepared to find that right volunteer fit for yourself. We're also going to talk about what you should expect when you apply for a volunteer opportunity, and we're going to talk about your rights and responsibilities as a volunteer. My keyboard doesn't like this. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Slow advance of slides. We're really fortunate to live in a country with a strong, dynamic nonprofit sector. Our nonprofits and the volunteers that support their missions are a huge part of Canada's culture and what really gives us a sense of community. So people volunteer for a variety of reasons. A lot of the time it's to give back or to get involved in the community. So sometimes people are just like, I just want to give back. They may also have a specific cause, so a cause that's near and dear to their heart, or something that a family member may be involved in or affected by. They often volunteer to develop specific skills or to get connected to their community. So if you're new in the Central Okanagan, it's a great way to meet people. Even during COVID, there's still opportunities to connect with others through volunteerism. They also volunteer to utilize their skills and share their expertise. So some are looking to develop skills, some are looking to share what they already have and put it back to the community. And a lot of the time people are volunteering to find a sense of purpose. So perhaps they've recently left their job, they've retired, or they're just looking for some more meaning in their spare time, and they're volunteering for a sense of purpose. You may have some other reasons, but it's good to start to think about those kinds of things and what are your reasons for looking for volunteer opportunities. And we do have a list on our website on kcr.ca on our publications page. There's this volunteer section, and on there's a why volunteer document. There's also one we're going to talk about in a little bit, your skills and your interests. So you might want to check back to our website, kcr.ca, and go to the publications page, have a look at the volunteer section. Also, our new magazine is up there, not is going to be, it is up there, the new Volunteer Fair magazine. So did you know there are over 350 charitable organizations and over 700 nonprofits in the Central Okanagan? And we say over because it's really difficult for us to stay on top of which organizations are starting, have come into the community. Sometimes organizations are actually folding, unfortunately. But we know that we're still above the 350 charitable organizations and 700 nonprofits in the Central Okanagan. They all have volunteers. All nonprofit organizations are governed by a volunteer board of directors. So even if in their daily work of carrying out their activities, they don't utilize volunteers, there is a volunteer board that's overseeing the work of that agency. And they need representation from the community. They need skills as well, but this is a great way to develop skills. If you're interested in understanding how nonprofits work or even how businesses work, a board opportunity can be a great place to learn. And it's also a great place if you're really skilled in certain areas of governance or management. Oh, hi, Zen. Governance or management to share your skills and experience. Volunteer opportunities vary by role and commitment. They also vary on the timing as to when they are when they're happening. They might not be a year-round position, and there's as many volunteer opportunities as there are people. Basically, they vary. They can be as unique as you. All right. So finding the right, I'm not sure if you can see this, depending on your view, there might be faces covering up the right-hand side of your screen, but finding the right volunteer opportunity for you. You also want to think about, so you want to think about your reasons. Why are you interested in getting involved in the community? And then you want to think about your interests. Lots of different ways to look at these interests, and that interests handout is also on our website. You might be interested in working with a certain demographic or part of our population. So maybe you're interested in working with children and youth. Perhaps you're interested in working with newcomers, new immigrants, or people newly moved to the Central Okanagan. Seniors, people with diverse abilities. Perhaps there's something else not listed here. Perhaps you want to get involved based on the activity level of the volunteer opportunity. So there's opportunities for outdoor activities, indoor activities. We can consider when we look at administrative type volunteer opportunities, they might be quite stationary. You may be sitting down, typing, or answering phones. Or it could be quite an active opportunity where you are, if you're at, say, the food bank, where you're loading food into or out of a truck or into boxes for their clients. It could be a creative opportunity. This could be in the arts, or it can be creative as in using creative thinking to develop new ideas, new projects. Or it could be methodical, something you do systematically over and over again. So thinking about where those interests are. Also could be cause-based. So on this slide, if you can't read it, we have basic needs. Are you wanting to help people access basic needs? And that's food, shelter, clothing. Are you interested in health and wellness, or helping individuals with mental health and substance use? Also on there, we have arts and culture, the environment, and I think what's missing, we have animal welfare as well, but what's missing, I don't see sports on there. So not that I necessarily think of sports as a cause, but when we think of all of our amateur sports organizations, they are all run by volunteers as well. So lots of opportunities to get involved. I don't want you to think of this as an exhaustive list by any means. So that's the interest side. Sometimes my mouse isn't working. Thank you. We also want to look at the skills side. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, good. This is not exhaustive either. And when we're talking about administrative, that's typically in the office help. But these days, this can include remote administrative support. Interpersonal skills, that's working with people directly, and it could be over the phone or over Zoom, but it's how you interact with people personally. Communication skills, that can include email, telephone, writing letters. Technical skills can be a range. It could be IT, as in digital or computer skills, but it could be technical specific to another area. Perhaps it's engineering skills or skills you might have in working in the environment or something like that. So technical can be a wide range. Digital marketing and social media, I think more and more nonprofits don't have a lot of dollars to do marketing. So marketing support in general, and digital marketing specifically because of it's that time. We're here, we need to do a lot of things digitally. The support from volunteers in that area can be tremendous if we can get a skilled volunteer who knows what they're doing. Mechanical, in a few of my interviews, the video interviews that we did, I heard from a couple organizations that were actually talking about having fleets of vehicles where they actually needed volunteers that could help support the maintenance of those vehicles. So mechanical skills are often needed, and it could be other, not just vehicles, it could be other mechanical type skills as well. Financial knowledge definitely comes, and legal as well, comes to be important if you're looking at a board position. Those skills are really in demand on nonprofit governance boards. Leadership, also great for a board position, but can be great on the ground as well. So we do need volunteers that have leadership skills to either take on a team of other volunteers or lead their own project or activity. So I did put project management on here. It came to mind when I was thinking about leadership, because once you've gotten really involved into in an organization and you know a lot about them, your volunteer supervisor might be very interested in having you take on a project that has multiple steps if you have those skills and that you can carry forward to completion. It does require teamwork skills in a lot of cases. Creative skills, definitely in demand, and doesn't always have to be artistic. Again, creative thinking, thinking differently, thinking outside of the box. Database entry, some of that, that methodical stuff we're talking about, it can be really important. And other specialized skills as well. So that's, again, not exhaustive. It's really important to, when we look at the skills, to not only think about what are you good at, you want to think about what skills do you want to develop, what skills can you share, and what skills don't you want to share. So you might actually have some skills that you use in your work life, But when you go to volunteer, you want to do something completely different. And we do hear that. So some volunteers are looking for, hey, I do this all the time in my job, and I would love to get back to my community that way. And then we hear, oh, I do that all the time in my job. I don't want to do that in my volunteer position. So understanding where you're at and what you want to contribute, really important before you start looking for a volunteer opportunity. A big pause. I'm going to have to get you to ship forward it for me, Dorothy. I can't get it to go. Thank you. So if you are, when you go to look for volunteer opportunities, not all volunteer opportunities are posted. We are going to talk about the VolunteerConnector, and it's really simple to post volunteer opportunities. But as you may have heard in some of the video interviews that are up on in our website and on our Facebook page, that a lot of organizations are really interested, if you think you have something you can give back to them to help them out, that they would consider taking on a volunteer that there isn't a posting put out there already. Also, we have to remember that organizations can be really, really busy. They don't often get to that important volunteer posting. So be aware that some are posted, some aren't. But if you're applying to a posted position, some of the things you should expect is that there's going to be some kind of intake process and timeline. So a lot of us get really excited and we want to volunteer right away. We've seen the posting, we're like, yeah, I can start next week. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. The organization has to go through their screening protocol and just has to find the time to fit it into their day. Unfortunately, a lot of our organizations, we have volunteer supervisors, but it's not the only thing that they do. So they might be delivering services and programs at the same time. And so just expect that there is some kind of process and timeline, but do expect that they will get back to you in a fairly timely manner. Most of the time, they're going to have a scheduled interview, so be prepared for that interview. You might have to email your resume. This interview might be in person, or it might be over Zoom or some other online platform. Be prepared to provide references as well. These can be character references and or workplace references or volunteer references. So somewhere that they can check to see whether you have the skills, whatever those might have been, that you say you have, and someone who can vouch for that. I mentioned screening. A lot of our organizations are going to require a vulnerable sector check or a criminal record check because we're working with vulnerable populations. So don't be put off by that. And sometimes there's a second step to that screening because we just want to make sure that there is no risk to our participants in our programs and services. It's also important because there's often access to confidential information as a volunteer, or just the activities that go on in an organization may be of a confidential nature. So ensuring that our participants, our staff, everyone is safe, that screening is a really important part. As I mentioned, come prepared to talk about your interests, skills, your abilities, and your availability. So we didn't talk about that. You know, is it a weekday position? How many hours per week? Is it remote? Again, how many hours per week? When can you work on it if it is remote? And be prepared to talk about what interested you in the position. So that's if you're applying for a posted position. Hey, I think it worked. But if you are approaching a nonprofit that has not posted a volunteer opportunity, but you're really interested in helping them out with their cause, you love what they do and you want to be a part of it, first you want to probably think about approaching them by email or phone first. Not every organization has the ability to accept walk-ins at this time with COVID-19 protocols. So definitely give them a call or an email. If you found the information on our database, that will have contact information in there as well. So don't be worried about that. Research the nonprofit. So be prepared when you approach them. Why are you interested in volunteering? What help can you give them? What is it that you see that your skills or your interests match up with what they're doing? Why did you choose that organization? Again, come prepared with your resume, your volunteer involvement, as well as your past work experience, and have a good understanding of the time commitment that you would like to give them. So just a few things to think about as you can approach an organization that hasn't posted a position, but make sure you're really prepared for that. Rights and responsibilities. I think I got a couple more minutes here. So really as a, here we go. I think we skipped a slide. I think we have to go back a slide and my back's not working either. Oh, yeah, there we go. Thank you. So rights and responsibilities as a volunteer, you should expect some sort of orientation. So an understanding of what the organization is. This can look like a variety of different things. It may be a set time that you sit down and you're on a Zoom meeting. It could be in person, social distancing. It may be that the volunteer supervisor has you watch a video to help you understand what the organization is, what their mission is, what they're doing, and a little bit more about your volunteer role. Training, every volunteer position should have some sort of training, and some volunteer roles are quite simple. They don't require a lot of training. It might be right on the job while you're volunteering that you'll get that training. Others will have really in-depth training that you'll have to complete prior to beginning your volunteer role. And some will have a step-by-step where you do some training in advance and then you do some shadowing of experienced volunteer, and then you'll be off on your own. So there's a variance of training, but you should have some sort of training that they will provide. You should also expect some supervision. There should be somebody that you report to and can ask questions from. This could be a staff or it could be another volunteer, but you should be provided that information when you start your volunteer role. You should expect a safe workspace. And right now, safety in a lot of often means COVID protocols, but there's other safety considerations as well, so that you have enough space to do your work, you have the equipment, materials, other safety materials that you need to perform your work, and it's in a safe space. So if there's anything that is concerning to you and you don't think it's safe, you should be able to go back to that supervisor and address those issues. That is your right to have a safe workspace. Recognition's on here, and I know as a volunteer, I don't expect much for recognition, but you should have some sort of expectation that there'll be some acknowledgement of the time you contribute to the organization. Some organizations go way out of their way and they have celebrations and provide gifts, and it should actually be something that you discuss when you apply for a volunteer position, that, you know, what are your expectations as far as recognition goes? What are you hoping to get out of this? What other things are you interested in? Especially if you're looking to develop skills, sometimes that give back or that recognition might be the volunteer coordinator providing you those opportunities to develop those skills. And of course, you should expect fair and equitable treatment, and that's in both in applying for the volunteer position as well as during your work with the organization. And my final slide, on the responsibility side, and this one goes back and forth, is you do have a responsibility as a volunteer, and of course the organization has a responsibility back to you for clear and open communication. So an understanding between you and your supervisor of how you're going to communicate. Is it via email? Is it via text? Is there a volunteer newsletter that keeps you up to date on what's going on? You know, what are the methods of communications? Feel free to ask questions so that you do know what's happening. And if you're not able to show up for a volunteer shift or you're going to be late, it's really good to give your supervisor a heads up on that. So you want to treat it somewhat like a job you're not being paid for, but you need to, the importance of your role is still very important to the organization. You want to follow the organization's rules, policies, and procedures, and you should have an expectation that you know what those are in advance, and that you're not given responsibility above your level of understanding of those rules and procedures. So that's another sort of safety thing, right? You're not doing a job where you don't know what the procedure is. And once you know the procedures, you want to make sure you're following them. And then respect for the organization. Volunteers are really ambassadors for our organizations. So understanding how it is, what the mission of the organization is, and what it is your organization wants made public. What is the communication out to the public about that specific organization, and what really needs to be kept confidential. So remembering that a lot of the stuff that happens within the office or within your workspace could very well be confidential. So showing that respect for the organization. And I don't know if there was any questions. I know we're really close on time, Dorothy, but that is all I have on the presentation. Doesn't look like there was questions.
Sorry, Stephanie. Sorry, yeah. Kelsey muted me. Stephanie, that was really great. And thank you so much for really important information to share, especially about expectations that volunteers should have about being treated fairly and equitably as employees. It's an important role that volunteers provide, and they have the same rights and responsibilities as employees for an organization do as well. There were no questions in the chat, but if anybody has any questions, please put them in there and then we can ask Stephanie. It's easier through the chat to do it than through everybody muting and unmuting, as you can tell with my difficulty with the whole thing. It's a little harder, but great information, and thanks, Stephanie, are some of the comments that are being shared. So thank you, Stephanie. It was really great. And thank you for moving us up in time too, because I did lag a little bit. And then the other, sorry, go ahead.
I went a little fast.
And then the other bit is this is part of the technology glitches sometimes that we experience with sharing screens and not being able to move the things too. And I know that's frustrating for facilitators, and I'm sorry about that stuff, but it's amazing. And I hope everyone understands and is patient with us around this too. So if there are no questions, just a lot of thank yous, and you're awesome. That's great, Stephanie. Great tips and info. I'm going to move on to now sharing a little story about a year and a little bit ago, May last year, meeting a fantastic man, Doug, from Volunteer Calgary, who was coming through Kelowna and came to chat with us about a new volunteer platform that they were putting together. And Volunteer Calgary has been around for an incredibly long amount of time, has learned a lot about volunteering, and has really come to the point of identifying that how we help volunteers and how we help organizations is best if we're focusing on being volunteer-centered for that. And today we have two presenters with us from Volunteer Calgary, Janet Rock and Katie Dodd. Janet is one of the instigators. She's been with Volunteer Calgary for many, many years, but she was one of the instigators in moving to a digital platform for supporting volunteers in the best way. And it's really using the best of technology to make it the most personal and valuable opportunity for people to get them connected with organizations. And over the past year, we've had a lot of conversations, a lot of time to chat about this platform, and we really think that this is a fantastic way to get our communities, volunteers engaged in the best way, committed to the right impact that they want to make in their community, so that, as Laura said, that there's something that they're getting out of this thing as well, that they feel that the value they're giving in their time and their expertise is really where they want to share their impact. And I'm going to turn it over to Katie and Janet to share a little bit about the VolunteerConnector and about passion of volunteerism. Katie and Janet.
Hi, everyone. Janet's actually going to start. She's got something that she wants to say. Are you here, Janet? She might need to unmute.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Awesome.
Headphones in, and sometimes those are unreliable, so I'm sorry. Thank you so much for having us. Hi from Toronto. Isn't technology kind of crazy that like I'm here in the future 3 hours ahead of you, being able to talk to you from Toronto? So great. I love it. Thank you so much for having us. We really love working with Dorothy, and I just so appreciate the hard work that you've put into organizing all of this. So thank you so much. So I'm just going to get us started, and then Katie will take us home with all the details. So I'm going to talk to you about the word "and." Are you so excited? The word "and." It's very complex. Not at all. The reason why I love the word "and" kind of comes from, I've had a bunch of friends who are like, I love being around funny people. I have a bunch of friends who have taken improv classes, and there's that concept in improv of like, oh, you know, like, can you take it a little further? Can you put something together and just make it hilarious? Can you make a little more of a joke by saying "and," by adding to what the other person's doing? And I love comedy. I love those stories, and I love the idea that something so simple can be so powerful. And to me, the word "and" is a connector. It's a conjunction, technically, so it's literally something that puts things together. And I feel like that's the kind of person that I am. I'm an "and" person. So as I hear people speaking about volunteering, all I hear is the word "and," because we talk about the value to communities and ourselves. We talk about the ways that we can bring our skills and we can learn skills. So I hear it all the time. And so the word "and" is a connector, and we're so excited to share the Volunteer Connector. So look at how cute that is and how it comes together. I want to tell you a little about my story, because I feel like if we could all put stories in the chats, that you'd have exactly these stories. So I want to tell you about when I was a little girl. I moved from province to province. I moved from New Brunswick to Nova Scotia. And like, I think in the West, we think they're like the same, it's not a big deal, right? But it was deeply terrifying to me as a child. And I was 10, so it was like, oh no, like things are bad. I am alone. Uh-oh, bad times. Also, my dad lost his job, so we were poor. Like, I'll just call it what it was. We were not very well off. So here I am, moving in the middle of the school year, starting new things, and I was really, really just lost and nervous, and I didn't have any friends, obviously, new place. And my mom went into the school, and she's like, oh, okay, like, let's get her doing something. And they were like, yeah, the thing that she can do is the flute. So, like, I'd never played the flute. And the flute is like a lovely, lovely instrument when you can play, but if you can't, it just kind of sounds like sounds that are maybe produced by, well, an amateur, definitely, but also like sounds that like humans shouldn't have to hear those sounds. Like, it should be muted while you're learning, but whatever. No one's figured out that technology yet. So I'm starting to play the flute, and it's it's a disaster shortly, because I'm in the middle of the school year. All the kids are ahead of me. They're ahead of me by 1.5 years too. So I'm trying to like really keep up. And what happened was I got assigned a coach. It's my first experience with a volunteer myself. And that coach worked with me every single week through all the screeching, terrible, high-pitched accidents that were coming out of like my mouth and my fingers. And she got me caught up to where my peers were in school. And I can't tell you what happened to me when I actually got good at the flute, because I got like real good at the flute, which was kind of, let's laugh at that, that's cute on its own. But I also got confidence. And I think if you've had that experience of moving, or you know what it's like to be somewhere new, or to kind of feel behind, gaining confidence is like, it has so much of a return on investment, right? Like, it affected my whole life. In fact, my very first volunteer role was, ta-da, as a coach. So I got to come back to my school and help kids who were in the same position as me. We merged with another school, and I got to help a whole group of also terrible sounds coming out of people's mouths and fingers turn into beautiful music and help kids gain that confidence. What was really cool about that is it also led me to my first job. So I eventually was able to become a tutor to kids who really wanted to take their flouting? Yeah, okay. So I don't know what that is, but their flute skills to the next level. So volunteering for me was one of those things that completely changed my life. Like, I have no idea what the trajectory would have been had I not had a pretty early intervention, had someone not taken the time to care and see what I needed, and had a volunteer not given many, many hours in kind of a crap environment, right, to give me the confidence that I needed. And in turn, I was able to give other people confidence. So this experience shaped my entire adult life. And when I moved to Calgary from Nova Scotia when I was 20, and I was like, gonna get a great job, and I got an okay job, and then this job to work at the Volunteer Center of Calgary came up, and I was like, that is where I want to be. And here I am so many years later, still there, because I found the love of my life through a human whose name I don't even remember, when I was a 10-year-old little girl. And so how exciting is that volunteering can be kind of that through line, that confidence, and so many ands in our lives. Like, I just feel so grateful for volunteering and for the opportunities that it's given me to give to others, to be able to build all kinds of bridges and to turn things that don't appear to be much, like those terrible sounds, into a lifetime of confidence and a lifetime of giving back and a lifetime of being able to help people solve their problems and challenges with volunteering too. So it's been pretty cool. And I'm sure lots of you can relate to different parts of that story, even if you never did play the flute. Maybe you have another volunteer who's touched your life, or you've been able to turn around and give that confidence to someone else. And I think that that's exactly the spirit of volunteering, and certainly of KCR from what I know of working with Dorothy. So high fives for that. So I think that I'm just going to talk a little tiny bit about the connector, because Katie's got all the like juicy details, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the fun things. So like, the connector makes things a little easier. Like, Stephanie talked a lot about the details, and the connector can make some of those things a little easier. Here's one fun fact. It used to take about 6 weeks to get connected to volunteering where we're working, and now it takes about 2. So that's cool that there's like some economies that can happen through like pretty cool technology. We're excited about that. One of the other fun things, and I'd love you to actually participate. This is a moment for you to go into the chat box and just give me your best guess. So volunteering every week looks like, when you look at the interest level in it on the internet, it kind of looks like this. It goes every single week. So there's this hump, and that hump is a day of the week. The day of the week is Monday around 3 p.m. So I'm curious to know what you think is happening around 3 p.m. on a Monday. Why is volunteering peaking then? Any guesses? You don't have to guess. I'll give you my best guess, but I think it's kind of fun. I'll wait. I can play the flute. Oh my gosh, this was such an opportunity missed. I'm really annoyed at myself right now. And I can't sing, so there's no other way to fill this space. It's quite disappointing. Okay, so I don't see anybody taking me up on my offer to guess because we aren't too tired on a Monday. Okay, that's a good one. I think that's really good. You know what else I think too? I think because we're coming back to work with that spirit of, okay, like I'm not too tired and I'm maybe feeling like I could do something. I think volunteering actually ignites this like spirit of what else is out there. Like, what could we be doing? I totally think it's related to, yes, avoiding the 3 o'clock slump and setting goals on a Monday. Absolutely. And all of that working into like, where else could I be right now? like that simple question of like, oh, maybe I could be setting a goal to volunteer. I do feel the energy to come back and give back a little bit more. So I think I don't know exactly why it peaks on a Monday. Like there's no magical answer. So sorry if you were like waiting for the beanstalk to grow, that wasn't going to happen. Maybe set your expectations too high. But I think it's fascinating to know those things about volunteering and to start celebrating them. Like, what does that mean for our communities, that we feel the energy for volunteering, that we get excited about setting goals, that we see ourselves in other places in the community, and that we get excited about it. To me, that is the and in volunteering, that we can really transport ourselves. We can transport ourselves because it does change us. It changes us as volunteers, it changes our communities, and it makes the world better. Legit. So that's what I have to say, and I'm so excited to be Katie's hype woman, woo, and for you to learn a little bit more about the details of the Volunteer Connector. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, you guys, just bear with me for one moment. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see that? Okay, it should be a ski hill. That's not what I'm talking about. I will get a presentation going here. There. Okay. Just bear with me. Okay. All right. So I now am going to talk a little bit more about the logistics of the Volunteer Connector. It's a very intuitive and user-friendly system. So I actually won't be talking for that long, but I just wanted to talk about a few things. But before we get going, I just really want to, again, thank Dorothy and Emily for organizing this event, inviting us here, and just for this beautiful partnership that has come out of meeting. And I'm just really excited to be working with the Okanagan region. We all are with Volunteer Calgary. Usually when we launch a platform in a new community, we get to make a trip out, but obviously because of the current circumstances, we aren't able to do that. But once things do settle, I really do hope that I can make a trip out and meet some of you folks and really get a good understanding of what's happening on the ground there. So thank you though so much for having us right now. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the Volunteer Connector, kind of how it's evolved, and then I'll touch on the functions of the platform, how you can use the tools to better serve your communities and get connected. And again, it's a very short presentation. If you feel comfortable asking questions, I'll give you lots of time to do so at the end. And then if you don't feel comfortable asking questions, just feel free to reach out to Emily or Dorothy, and they'll forward any questions on to me. So, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. So, alrighty. So I just wanted to quickly talk about a few things related to COVID and volunteerism before I dive into it, because I just think this is cool and it really touches on the spirit of volunteerism. So throughout the COVID-19 crisis, we have seen so many people adapting and moving quickly to ensure the needs of our communities are being met. Volunteers have really been quick to accept the changes and adapt so that they can continue to help. Throughout the pandemic.
Katie, sorry.
Yeah.
We just, sorry, it's Dorothy. We just have your voice crackling and audio issues a little bit.
Oh dear. Thanks, Dorothy.
Yeah, mine's fine. I'm having it too.
I even am on my husband's fancy computer to try and avoid that.
Maybe if you're closer, I think that sounds better.
Does that sound better? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys. Thanks for interrupting, Dorothy. Does that sound better now?
Yeah.
Okay, you're just gonna have to get a close-up of my face. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so just going forward, and interrupt me again if you can't hear me. That's really important. What we're seeing is more volunteers coming out to help than ever before. And so it's very, very exciting. So in fact, this year, what we've seen on the Volunteer Connector is numbers up by 76% in comparison to last year. So that is connected. The reason being is because of COVID and also just better traction on the connector. But it's just very exciting to see people coming together to help out. The other thing that we're seeing is more informal forms of volunteering and helping out. So just volunteers stepping up to help out without going through an organization, whether that be lawn work for a neighbor, running errands for someone that's unable to do so. We're just seeing more people stepping up and doing the right thing. So it's really, really exciting to see. And then also more grassroots movements appearing. So just stuff like, people coming together on Facebook, organize and get help out to those that need it. Just small groups of people getting together and going out and picking up garbage or, cleaning up trails and that type of thing. So it's all very, very inspiring to see. And I think COVID and volunteerism is such a great story of how we all respond as neighbors in moments of crisis and need. And it's a great example of how vital you volunteers are to our community. So just wanted to touch on that. I hope the sound is okay, you guys. Again, stop me if it's not. So the evolution of the Volunteer Connector, and Dorothy touched on this a little bit, but it started in Calgary. So the Volunteer Connector was created by staff at the Volunteer Center of Calgary. And the Volunteer Center of Calgary has been around for about 65 years. So we have lots and lots of experience. And then basically what happened was in 2017, when we could see how rapidly the world was transforming due to that digital technology, we knew it was crucial for us to assess our services to ensure we could continue to serve the community needs around volunteer engagement. We did extensive research and concluded that transforming into a digital volunteer center was the best way to do this, which led to the development of Volunteer Connector. This platform is easy to use and connects volunteers to organizations in a matter of minutes. So as time went on, we could see that many of the volunteer centers across Canada were seeing an increased demand in services, but a lack of resources. And because we had used advanced technology to create a valuable platform, we could easily share it with other volunteer centers in need. We knew that by providing our platform to volunteer centers at no cost, we would be freeing up their time to focus on essential services, and we could expand faster and connect more volunteers to organizations. We now work alongside 22 regional partners across Canada. And partnership and collaboration with other volunteer centers is truly what has made the Connector so successful. All right, so I'm going to just dive into a few details about the Volunteer Connector. So the tool is constructed and tested by volunteers. So as a volunteer center, this was so important to our team. We wanted to know, how can we develop a tool that meets that helps volunteers find opportunities that meet their needs and interests, so that they can continue to help organizations for years to come. And there's no other platform out there that is centered around the volunteer, so that makes us super, super proud. The system also has built-in best practices in volunteer engagement and popular opportunity search options that I'll dive into a little bit more in a minute, by motivation, cause category, and flexibility. Helping to ensure a good match between the volunteer and the organization. And again, I just want to emphasize this, collaboration with our regional partners has truly been key to the success of this platform. We provide the platform for free to our regional partners and their members to save them time and resources, while they still provide local volunteer support services directly to their communities. So this is a win-win for communities, because you have access to your local volunteer centers for support, and then you also have access to our unique technology. So this is really freeing up everybody's time. These partnerships also give us great insight into what is happening around volunteerism and what it looks like across the country, which allows us to ensure we are always evolving to meet the needs of our community. So it's really cool. Okay, so the Volunteer Connector, it's always going to be free for you to use it no matter what. Till the end of time, you can use it for free to connect with organizations. It's very, very important. You have the ability to have access to a dashboard or a profile, and you can track your opportunities, hours, and applications there. There's improved features for direct volunteer to organization connections, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And then integrated scheduling software so that you're able to select the shifts that work best for your life, because we know how important flexibility is to volunteers and to everybody today. So, okay, so this is what the landing page looks like on the Volunteer Connector. You do not have to create a profile in order to see opportunities. This was so, so important to us. We don't want you having to dig for opportunities or to dig through a website in order to find opportunities. So when you land on the Volunteer Connector, you're going to see opportunities right away. And then from there, you can filter it down to find the opportunity that's going to work best for you. All right, so this is kind of what you can do. So as soon as you land on the page, you can look for COVID opportunities, and then you can also look for online opportunities. So we wanted to make sure we implemented those filters with everything that's happening now. So those features allow you to find opportunities that you know are going to be safe to do during this time. So I'll just go back one second. So once you're on this page, you can also drop down and choose cause categories, which Stephanie talked about as well prior, and then the activities that you want to do. And that looks like this. So cause categories, here are all the different cause categories that you can select, and so that you can ensure that you're finding an opportunity that really meets your interests and what you want to support. And then this is activities. So any activity that you want to use or you want to do and put to your volunteer hours, you can select. And then once you select these options, you'll see opportunities that fall under these categories. You can also tailor it here. So one thing to keep in mind, which is really important, so when you first land on the Volunteer Connector, you're going to see opportunities that are 50 kilometers around your location. If you want to expand that so that you're seeing more opportunities within the Okanagan, or shrink it because you only want to see opportunities that are in walking distance, then you just have to click on this button here and then just enter in a different kilometer radius. Super, super straightforward, but it's auto selected so that you'll see opportunities within a 50-kilometer radius, and then you can filter it to make sure it works best for you. You can also just enter in a keyword. So if there's a keyword that you're interested in looking for, then you just enter that in, and then any opportunity with that word will appear. And there's COVID support. You can also select on opportunities that allow you to apply directly through the connector. So if you just want to be able to connect with an organization quickly, you can just click on that button there, and then that will just show the opportunities where you can apply directly through the connector, and you don't have to email or call an organization. You can just have your information populate and then connect with them that way. And then time commitment, as well as opportunities. So if you just want to work remotely, if you're looking for an opportunity that's flexible in hours, you can make all of those selections as well. So it's super straightforward, and everything is just tailored around the volunteer to ensure that you're finding an opportunity that's really, really going to meet your needs and make you excited about volunteering. So, so this is what the profile section looks like. You can decide whether or not you want to do that, as I mentioned before. If you do decide to create a profile, it's a nice option. So what you're going to do is on the Volunteer Connector page, the landing page that I showed you, in the top right corner, you'll see either volunteer or organization heading. Volunteers are going to click on volunteer, and then you'll be brought to this page. All you need to do is enter in your email address, and then an email will automatically be generated to you and then prompting you to create a password. Super, super quick. And then once you've done that, you'll have the opportunity to create a profile. And then all this information is stored in the system for you. So you can just write kind of a short bio, your contact information, primary skills, secondary skills, that type of thing. And then what's really convenient about this profile is that when you apply through the connector, all this information is just automatically populated into the system. And then you don't have to re-enter it over and over again when you're applying to organizations. So it's very handy. And then when you're applying to an organization, you'll just be able to enter that information, or that will be automatically populated. And then there's just a little box where you can put in any information that is specific to that position. So again, streamlining the process for volunteers to connect organizations faster is really our goal here, and that's why we've implemented these features. So that's the profile. And then in your profile, you're going to have all your applications stored. So if you've applied to an organization, that will be stored for you. If you decide you don't want to work for it, you can just cancel it, but all of those will be stored. And then once an organization approves you for that position, you'll be notified via email that you're approved and you can start volunteering. Very, very helpful. And then the other cool thing about having a profile is that you can track your hours. So any commitment that you've had, you just add hours, and then that organization will be notified that you've added hours, and then they just have to verify them for you. If an organization, so if say you just start using the connector now and you don't have a commitment listed here, you just need to search for the organization here, and then add them in, and then you can add your, so say for instance, you volunteered for an organization in January, and you want to enter them in, you just add the organization, and then you'll just have to add the hours, and then that organization will be notified. If you go to add an organization and they're not in the system, so they haven't created a profile yet, or they're not a member of KCR, just reach out to them and let them know that through KCR they can get a free profile on the connector so that they can start tracking hours as well. So, but there should be quite a few organizations within the community already listed. And then the other thing is that you can download your history. So all of the information can be within a PDF, and you'll see all the hours that you've done within that year listed. So really cool feature for, especially we know students that need to have this information stored for transcripts and that type of thing, or for getting into college, then it's really cool profile feature for that especially. So the other thing that you can do is say you're applying or you're looking for opportunities, and you know there's an organization that you're super excited about and you want to help, but maybe the volunteer position doesn't work for you right then, or they don't have any active volunteer positions. Then what you can do is just click follow that organization, and then anytime that organization posts an opportunity, you'll be notified via email right away, and then you can go in and check it out and apply, and then get connected with them faster. So that's a cool feature. And then the other thing that's really cool is, and so for organizations that have upgraded on the connector, they can use a scheduling feature. And so what happens is they can publish any shifts that they have within their volunteer positions, and then you get notified if you're a volunteer for them, and then you get to select the shifts that work best for your schedule. So it's super straightforward. You can just accept or decline, and then all your shifts will be stored within the profile. So that's kind of the overview of the Volunteer Connector. If you want to get started on checking it out, just go to kcr.ca/volunteer, and you'll just scroll down their page, and you'll see right on there listed Okanagan Volunteer Connector, and you'll be directed to Volunteer Connector. So that's kind of it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much, Katie. A few comments that this is brilliant, which is really nice. Thank you. What a great structure system website that you've developed, very thoughtfully created and beneficial in so many ways. And that's really true. And that was what struck me with my first conversations with Doug. One is your guys' passion for really supporting volunteers. It's something we believe in at KCR so much as well. When Janet talked about her first experience with volunteers, and Stephanie has talked about volunteering and getting into your dream jobs and things, really that's the case for me. And I think for the majority of people that are here representing organizations, they're going to have similar stories as well, that volunteerism is really what's led us to our passions and our passion jobs. And when you can work in every day in work that you believe in so wholeheartedly, it makes it pretty easy to get up and go and do the work that you're doing. If you're doing it as a volunteer, I think that is just amazing as well. And it's what Janet talked about, that 3 o'clock blip on a Monday afternoon when you're tired of paying the man, you just want to dream about what you can really do with your passion and your work, then that's really great. Thank you, Katie. Great presentation. And Chantel Oaks has shared as well, and this is really great. Chantel joined the VolunteerConnector. Emily helped her get her set up this week, and she's already had one person sign up for the job that she's looking for, and that's really amazing and wonderful. And the great part was, it was not somebody from locally, but it is a virtual position, and so they were able to sign up and be able to support Chantel with a really important task that she has coming up as well. So yeah, so thank you for that. So very nice design and seems client friendly and great presentation. So thank you to you guys for being here. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Katie. It's always a joy to talk to you guys and always just get so inspired about working with volunteers and the difference we can make. And I love the site. I think it's so helpful, and I really love the fact that it is focused on people first. It's a digital platform, and in a world where we're really doing so much digitally, I love that people are still first and foremost in it. Mm-hmm. For organizations that are interested in this, Emily and I are here to help support you in getting your profile up and then helping to recruit volunteers. We're going to need your help to let volunteers know about the opportunity and really get uptake on people getting engaged with this platform, because the more volunteers we can sign up and have them in waiting or in the wings to look for opportunities, the more organizations we have, the more success we're going to have in matching it. And what we're really hoping is that we're not going to have any of that sort of stagnant listing of a volunteer posting, that when the volunteer does apply for it, the organization kind of comes back and goes, oh yeah, that was last year. That's not going to be the case with a volunteer platform, and a VolunteerConnector platform, and I think that's really going to do well for us. So now it's time for the breakout. Oh my gosh, I'm a little scared. Kelsey, our tech guru, has been working feverishly on the side to get everyone broken up into the three breakout rooms. What you're going to do is you're going to go into one of 3 breakout rooms. You don't have a choice. You're just going to go. Well, you do have a choice. You can just join in. So you'll get a notice from Zoom to ask you to join breakout room 1, 2, or 3. For the volunteers that are here, you are going to stay in where you are. Once you get moved into a breakout room, please stay where you are, and then we will rotate the organizations through those volunteer rooms. So they will come into the volunteer room, tell you a little bit about themselves. You'll have an opportunity to ask a couple of questions, and then we're going to switch and move on to the next group. I see somebody's put up a chat, which is great because you can ask lots of questions that way while we're doing this as well. Kelsey and I will remain in the main room, and I think Katie is staying with us as well if anybody does have any questions about the VolunteerConnector specifically, but also if you have any other questions outside of that. But other than that, please stay in the room, listen to the organizations that, so that they can share a little bit about what they're doing. And yeah, I think that's it. I think our social experiment is ready to go. Kelsey, are you ready? Kelsey is ready. All right, everyone. Enjoy your breakout rooms. You can see where you're going, the organizations that you're going to have there, but we'll see you in about 13 minutes back in the main room, or we'll move you in that time then. Thank you.
Was that fun or what?
Yeah, raise the roof. Thank
I
you
don't
so
know
much.
how you did that, Kelsey, but I'm impressed. We've tried to do that for AGMs and several other ones. This went very smoothly considering the complexity. Thank you.
Oh, fiddling. Give me anything to fiddle with and I'm there.
So we are just a few minutes before 12, which is when we promised we'd send you all back into the world and get going on the impact you want to start making. I just want to wrap up by offering any last thoughts that anybody would like to share. Opportunity. Kelsey muted you all when you came back into the main room, so you have to unmute yourself.
Dorothy, I would like to mention Chantel Oakes with the, what is it called? The Association for Equality of Blind Canadians. She has a volunteer opportunity this weekend. So if you guys are looking to volunteer right away, they're hosting an annual general meeting on Zoom and need help with, well, yes, this coming weekend, the next one, Saturday, 1 week from today. So looking for hosts and moderators for their Zoom meeting because they need help there. And then there's also going to be one on October 3rd. So they are posted on the VolunteerConnector already. So you can go sign up there, or you can email me at volunteer@kcr.ca and I can get you guys connected that way.
Great, Emily, thank you. Thank you to Stephanie for being a great leader in starting or coordinating the volunteer fair. Stephanie Moore, a big thumbs up and hand clap to you. Thank you to Emily and Juan and Kelsey for being such amazing team members. Yay to them. Thank you to all of the organizations for taking the time to invest in the community, in taking the time to be here with us today, and in the work that you do with volunteers. For us at KCR, it is our pleasure to try and support volunteerism and organizations. It's our passion, so make sure you call on us to give you support when you need it and how you need it, and really just let's explore ways that we can support you better, because that's what we want to learn. We want to do every day as well, is to grow and do better in the work that we're doing. So I hope all of us can get engaged with the Volunteer Connector, the Okanagan Volunteer Connector. I think it's just going to be such a great platform for us to use to connect with our community and our volunteers. So I'm going to ask you for help in getting it launched in our community. Tell people about it, encourage your volunteers to sign up as well. What that's going to give us as organizations and is some statistics and information about volunteerism in the Central Okanagan. Not about Canada, not about, you know, all of BC or anything, but really in the Central Okanagan. We're going to have stats and figures about how important volunteerism is to our community, so that we can be better advocates for support for our organizations. When we're talking about volunteers, and we'll have some hard stats that we can work with. For volunteers, we want you to sign up and be a part of it, because it helps you get your information together. It gives you the stats that you need as well. So I think it's going to be a win-win-win for all of us with that. Thank you very much for taking the time, for being here, and for being such great innovators with us in having our first ever virtual volunteer fair. I'm going to throw Ellen under the bus again. Ask if you'd like to say anything else, Ellen, as our fearless leader and executive director of KCR Community Resources.
Only to say thank you so much for joining us, and I was glad to get to participate as a potential volunteer for the organizations that are represented today. So thank you very much. It's our first try at it, and I am very impressed with the community services team. They did a fantastic job. Thank you to all the staff, and thank you for those of you that attended.
Thank you. I would just like to say one thing as well. Also, thank you to all my teammates and everything. But if you guys go to kcr.ca/volunteer, there will be information there. All of the information for the organizations that were here today will be there. If you go to our YouTube channel, which will have a bunch of YouTube videos on kcr.ca/volunteer will be there. Our YouTube channel has all the interviews. There will also be posting 1 minute ago. I scheduled a post there with instructions about the VolunteerConnector, how to get your account. So that's awesome if you want to go there. And any other questions, if they're not on the website already answered, you can just email me and Dorothy at volunteer@kcr.ca. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you to Dorothy.
Oh, wait, one more
Oh,
thing.
thank you.
One more thing. Also on our website, there are volunteer and organization surveys, and it's just to give us more of an insight into volunteerism here in the Central Okanagan. So kcr.ca/volunteer, volunteers have their own survey and organizations do, and that would be awesome if you guys would help us out there. Thanks. Okay, my plugs are done.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a great Saturday still.